What is up, world? It's your boy Ton, and you are listening to the Wonton Wealth Podcast. Here, I'm going to unravel anything and everything commercial real estate related. And more importantly, we're going to add abundant value. So if you're ready, buckle up your eardrums. Welcome back, friends. This is the second part of my convo with Crystal, where we dig more the juicy numbers and nitty-gritty behind RL. Enjoy. So let's get a little bit more granular with some of the numbers in this project in general. Now, your business is called Honeysuckle REL.
Honeysuckle House, yes.
Honeysuckle House REL. Okay. So can you, as much detail or as little detail as you want, could you walk us through this particular project when it comes to, the size of the land, the size of each individual homes? We'll start with that, and then we'll kind of get more into the numbers there.
Yes. So the land is 1.49 acres. It's in Fort Mitchell, Kentucky. We are building two 8,100 square foot homes on it, and there's about 30 feet in between the homes, and so that's where the secured courtyard will be with a walking path and things like that. Each room is anywhere from 250 to 289 square feet, depending on if it's corner rooms or which one. We do have two of the rooms that are adjoining, so that way if we have a couple or we have two sisters or two best friends and they want to use one as a bedroom and one as a living room, they're able to do that. Let's see what else. I said private bathrooms, they're full bathrooms. We do have an ADA compliant guest bathroom. We have communal living area, so kitchen, living room, dining room, and then the salon. And then we also have a little library, like chapel area. So if people want to worship or they just want a quiet space, just because sometimes the activities are too much for some people, so they need another little place to kind of hang out.
Gotcha. And are you partnering with a developer or a contractor? And if so, one, what does that look like? And two, what's your general build cost?
Okay. So we are working with a contractor. We're working with Furlong Building. Actually, the person that owns the land is actually he owns the construction company also. So it's actually been wonderful because he's also was the mayor of Fort Mitchell and is now the Kenton County Sheriff. So he has lots of ties, which has made things, I'm sure, smoother for me than maybe it always is. I don't know. So that's been really good. So we're doing a design build. We have an architect. We have a civil engineer. We've got the construction team. To build each of the homes, it's about $5.9 million. The development cost for the land is around $850,000. And then there's also like tap fees, because it had a house on it, but it had a house that had, I want to say it had like well water or something like that. So water's at the street, but we have to bring it all in. And you have to do underground detention, because when you disturb over an acre of land in development, then you have to figure out a way to catch that runoff and all of that. So we could have done an above ground, but it literally would have looked like an empty pool, and that is not the aesthetic that we're going for. So we're putting ours underneath our parking lot.
When you say developmental fees, are you talking about hard costs and soft costs, or could you elaborate on that a little bit more?
So that's to get it shovel ready. So literally it has to be graded. It has to be, it's really the grading. It's the grading, the putting in the underground detention, and then bringing all of the utilities in.
Does that include permits?
No, there's a special permit that I think is around $50,000. We're still waiting to see, but we've started the permitting process, and so far I think I've paid $6,000 or $7,000. So that's something that people need to know also. If you're going into this, because there's a lot of unknowns, and so you kind of need to have a little nest egg. I would say we have probably spent, it's been over $200,000 in architects and design and all of the pre-stuff, getting the zoning changed, all of that. So just be aware that there are upfront costs to a lot of this, and you have to kind of do it to be able to know whether you can move forward, because it could, there were other land that we looked at that there was no way it was going to fit. It had water issue, like there were just other issues, but we wouldn't have known that without spending some money. So
right. So how far along are you from the day you got the land under contract up until now?
So we started in 2023 is when I first started this venture when my granny came and lived with me. We found the land in 2024, so late 2024. So it's been about a year. I would say about a year of all the zoning and the like working all those things out. Some of the delay has been me because of the money raising. Because you know once you get
Sure.
the bank and you get all that situated, then you have to start raising capital. So some of that is on
Yeah.
me.
So you mentioned that one house is $5.9 million. Does that include?
Both for both houses.
Oh, for
Yeah,
both
it's for
houses.
both
Okay,
houses.
so let's say okay. So does that include? That doesn't include the developmental costs, correct?
It does. Yeah, no. All that's in.
It does.
Yeah,
Okay, so
sorry.
that's
I was
all
just
in.
trying to break out that there are other. Yes, but it does include that.
Got it. When it comes to financing, how difficult was it to talk to these lenders in terms of getting pretty much a construction loan to a that converts to a permanent loan for assisted living in and of itself? I imagine that there would be a lot of education that comes out and a lot of pro forma spreadsheets that you have to educate these lenders on. Would that be a correct assumption?
Yes. So I think if you're going to talk to lenders, you need to have a couple things. You need to have a business plan that's very clear so that they know that you've done your research, that you can show them what are the demographics, what's the need, why are we even talking about this, why is this a good area, and what's our marketing plan, what's the competition in the area, like so they know why you chose the bed rates that you chose. So you really need to make sure that your business plan is solid. The next thing is a pro forma. A 10-year pro forma is wonderful. So if you can show them that, what they want to see is that you really are able to cover that debt service. So that's what they're looking at is mainly that your expenses and your income that you're able to cover what the piece that they care about. So we actually were really lucky in this area. Heritage Bank wanted to work with us, but we ended up going with what is it? Oh my gosh, Bank 59 because in the Raleigh space they know that. So it was really easy because we didn't have to educate them as much. They were just like, yeah, show us your numbers. Okay, yeah, it's good because we've already seen this work in other places.
And were there any favorable terms that they provided you for the lending?
They did, yeah. So it's an SBA loan, and it was favorable in the sense that the first 3 years were interest only on both two of the loans, and they were going to give us an interim interest, like 360,000, to help pay while we were developing, and they were 33. One of the loans is 33 years, so that was really helpful.
That's incredible. 3 years of interest only. And they gave you money to pay the interest
Yes,
with. That's
yes.
that's
I
amazing.
know. It is kind of
So
it's kind of amazing. But with the downside of them is that you do have to come up with about 20, anywhere from 18 to 20% of a down payment.
sure.
So they are better than I think some construction loans and some things like that you can get. But and they give you working capital, which a lot of lenders will not do. And with this, you have to have the working capital because that first year you're developing, that second year you're filling, you're not making money usually until sometime after the second year. So.
Got it. So after the 3 years of interest only, it rolls into an amortized loan, P&I, etc.
Right.
Yes.
Yes.
Got it.
Yes. They
Well,
do like these
30 year.
debenture loans. They do these little bridge loans is kind of what they are. But yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So you're a year in, roughly. When do you expect to be uh, completely finished with the build process? And I'm guessing you're kind of already starting the fill up or the pre-leasing period currently. Yes.
Yes. So we have our goal is to break ground in May. And then what we've been told is it's going to take 2 months to get the land, to get it shovel ready. And then it's 10 months to build both buildings with a week delay in between the two. There are some owners that would do one and then the other. The reason that we did it this way is just because of our land, the way it was. Nobody's going to want to look across and see a construction site and live in a nice, beautiful home and not be able to go outside. So it made more sense for us to do them simultaneously, but that's something that you do have to look at.
Sure. Okay. And you mentioned one of the issues that you were facing currently was the capital raise. And I know you mentioned it was a 506. B, and just for anyone listening, we're not soliciting investors here. It's just a conversation between Crystal and I, kind of learning more about how she structures and whatnot. So, Crystal, as comfortable as you are with sharing whatever, um, I'm curious how you're structuring your raise.
Okay. So the way that we structured our raise is that it's for friends and family. So it's people that we know. And once we know them and we understand some of their financial goals, then we're able to kind of talk to them about the deal and what we're offering. But what we did was we offered a pref. So for the first 2 years, again, we're not profitable. So what we did was a cumulative pref. And so what that means is that that inclusive pref, it adds up. So then in the third year, when we do start making profit, we're able to pay the investors back. So that kind of guarantees them a 10% return in those first 2 years. And then after that, our goal was at 5 years to refinance. And then once we would refinance, obviously give the investors as much of their initial capital back as we could. And then we were leaving them in the deal. So it was an evergreen deal. So it wasn't something that they would have to be kicked out of, which a lot of operators do. But for us, it's a long-term hold, so we wanted it to be kind of a long-term hold with passive income for people.
And for between you as the operator sponsored GP and the passive LP investors, how are you structuring that split?
So that it changes. So in the first 5 years, we had it that the LPs get 70% and we get 30%. But then once that capital is returned, it flip-flops and they get 30%, we get 70%.
I love that. Love that. Because and when they're invested into the project itself, that means they have an interest in the real estate plus the business.
Exactly.
And that's why once you return their capital, now you own more of the business, everything altogether versus them owning a little bit less.
Right.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Got it.
Yes.
Okay. So the 506B offering, um, with friends and family. Sorry for anybody that's accredited out there who is trying to invest in assisted living. Crystal's not accepting you at this moment.
Yes.
Um, you're planning on holding this for the long term, and you mentioned a cash out refinance in 5 years, right? Okay, so what if one of your investors want to get out? They want to, 5 years is enough for me. I want to get out. What happens then?
They could. I would be a little curious as to why they would want to get out because they don't have any money in the deal and they're just getting a paycheck each month or each quarter in the in the mail. But if they wanted to, let's say that it happened before the 5 years, then we have clauses in our operating agreement that it first comes to us as the owners, and whether or not we want to buy that share, then it goes to the other investors. If they are not able to, the other investors don't want it, then we would ask them to find a replacement for their share.
So you essentially get first dibs in order to buy them out for whatever percentage that they own.
Exactly.
And if not, they would have to find somebody to buy them out altogether.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. Okay. Any other nuances in your structure that's like kind of new and different or creative?
I think those are I feel like that structure was like very creative. Like I was very happy with it because for me, I was like, if people are willing to come in and invest with us, I want to take care of them. I want them to know that we're taking care of them before we're taking care of ourselves. So I loved the inclusive, and then cumulative pref and the 70-30 and then it switching, and then giving again as much money as we would be able to back because obviously this is something that's scalable. We're in Fort Mitchell right now. I would love to look at Fort Thomas. We're the only ones going to be in Northern Kentucky. So it's definitely a need in this area. So I would love to, give you your money back so you could come back to me and be like, hey, now I want to be in this one. So.
Right,
So, yeah.
right. Outside of the pitfalls that you've already seen with, the year that you've already been in, any other, I guess, pitfalls that you anticipate seeing in the near future?
The only thing I am a little bit concerned with is that in Kentucky, the plumbing. I know the plumbing is like apparently its own thing. So I'm really hoping that we don't have any hiccups with that. We do have to have like a grease catcher. Like it's kind of almost like a commercial kitchen, which is a little bit crazy because we're residential, but that's okay. So that's something that I think would be interesting. And then just being careful with the way, like our salon, we're actually not going to call it a salon. It'll be called like a flex space, and someone can come in that has their own license, because otherwise if you're calling it a salon, like you have to get a license. So you just have to be careful, like the way that you word things and call things, and you don't know that until you start kind of digging. And then that's why it's important to have people around you that have done this. So
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. How many of these projects are you looking to do? Like, let's say we're 5 years in the
yeah.
future. The first one is already up and running. It's filled. There's a waiting list.
Mm-hmm.
Are you looking at acquiring additional land to do more of these
We
projects?
are, yes, yes. So I think that we definitely have identified two more areas in northern Kentucky. Cincinnati is kind of, I'm not going to say saturated, but there are residential assisted livings there, which is why we haven't gone up. But we might look at going more south, like Walton, like Florence has got a lot of the big box facilities. But yeah, definitely something. I have three children. My business partner has two, so I feel like if we could do five, like groups of two or three, that would be perfect, because then we can, we're going to live there and know that we get good care, but also that we can leave that for our children.
And how are you employing your caregivers, your STNAs, et cetera? Are you, hopefully, you're not poaching them from somewhere else, but yeah, what's the process like for hiring qualified and caring and just well-rounded people?
So I think there's a couple different ways. So what's fascinating to me is we're not even open yet. Like we do have a website, but I've had people call me already, like caregivers and managers, and they're not happy in their current position, and so we will be probably poaching. And not on purpose, but just because we have a better environment. We're providing a better work environment than what they have. But I think the key is it's not all about the experience of the person, it's the person. It's just like what you said, because what you're looking, you can train how to help with ambulation and all of those things. You cannot train caring. And so I think that for us will be a big thing that we're looking for. So there are some, it's not agencies, it's called doyoucare.com, but they help fill in for you, and you can actually hire, like it's nice because it's kind of a trial. They can come and see how do they fit in with the people that are there. You can kind of see what's their work ethic like. So that's something that we definitely will use. And then a couple of the home health agencies in this area have offered to, if we're short, if we need people to come, that they would actually come and help cover our shifts. So that would be something that, if for that home health person, if they wanted to pick up some extra shifts, then they could kind of do both. So
That's incredible. Now, I do want to touch on one thing that we talked about prior to us starting was you mentioned REITs, and REITs had some interest here. So could you touch on that a little bit, elaborate a little bit more? So I'm sure I will get a lot of value out of this as well as the audience.
So what I'm finding is that when you have a deal, and people told me this. They said if you have the deal, the money will come. And I had a hard time believing that. Like it was like, what? What do you mean? I don't understand. Don't I have to go out and I have to do all this? And not to say that I haven't been networking. I've been doing all the things. I've been talking about what we're doing. But it just so happens that at it was actually Slocum Reed's at the best ever meetup. I had run into somebody there, and he reached out and was like, hey, I'm in real estate, obviously, like we all are. And I'm curious if you would talk to me about funding your deal, like funding sources. And I was like, sure, like that's great. Okay. It turns out that he works with REITs and that they are interested in funding our entire deal, which is amazing. And so that's why the syndication is we're trying to figure out what we're doing here, because we were getting ready to go to the 506C so that we could start advertising to accredited investors. We've kind of put that on hold to now see how this goes. But during that process, we also were a broker reached out to us and was like, hey, I've got private money, family offices, things like that. People are wanting to do residential assisted living because of the social aspect, and they would love for their money to go there. Can you send me your information? I have. They also are interested in working with us. So it's just fascinating how many people out there that it's like it's hidden in plain sight. And if you don't know that that's an option, you just think, oh, it's the loan. I have to go to the bank. You're missing all of these other opportunities.
Yeah, so networking is a big piece, which makes me kind of upset that I've put this thing on hold for so long and I haven't touched it in so long. But that's incredible. I mean, as the conversation that you are having with these REITs and brokers and whatnot unfold, I bet you they can probably fund your entire dream of having, 5 projects or
And that's
what have
exactly
you,
what they
right?
want. Like that's what they want ask that question because they want to know, A, do you want to hold, and then B, are you wanting to scale? Because that's exactly what they want to do. They want to have an operator that they can continually fund that they know has a good track record.
And would that change how you kind of structure everything now, since you have a few investors already, right, for the project, as well as an SBA loan in place? What would that look like if they came into the picture and took over the first one? Maybe they pay off the bank,
So
and I know if you were starting from scratch again,
yeah, we have
it'd be
not
easier.
signed for the bank. Like it's a pre-commitment, it's all of that. And the same with the investors, like I've taken soft commits. I haven't taken anyone's money because I wasn't sure what was going on and I didn't want to take people's money and then turn around and give their money back. So I have told all of the investors they're all aware of what's going on because I didn't want to leave them hanging. So it's they're incredible people, and most of them are like, okay, well, I'm going to put it in something liquid so that way, if it doesn't work out, like yeah, I can still go with you. And I'm like, that's awesome. Um, but yeah, it's completely funding the whole thing. So yeah, wouldn't need the SBA. I wouldn't need the investors at that point. But I know people who are doing residential assisted living that are raising money. So I've told them like if it doesn't work out with me and if it's really something that you want to pursue, I can connect you with those people.
Would you still keep the kind of the same structure that you had previously, where it was 30/70 and then split 70/30?
Okay, so that's a great question. So right now the terms are it's 8.75% loan, and there are going to be some points in there for the people who have kind of made it happen. So I think 5 points is what we're looking at. And as far as they want potentially rev share, not equity share, which is fine with me. And they are not looking at, I think they're talking 10 to 15%. So we have not negotiated that piece yet. So we'll see how that shakes out. But
So that will look very interesting. I mean,
mhm,
I would like to keep more of the equity
yeah,
piece, but if they want the revenue piece, by all means.
right, exactly.
Well, Crystal, that's all the questions that I had for you today. Before you leave us, how do people get in touch with you? How do they learn more about what you're doing? If you have any social media handles, please give us that, and then I'll put those in the show notes as
Okay,
well.
I will. Yeah, I'm on social media. It's Crystal Wilmhoff. It's Honeysuckle House. RAL is all over. You can find that on social media. And then we have a website. My phone number is 513-262-6180. So if people want to call or they want to email at info@honeysucklehouseral.com, I'm happy to answer any questions that they have.
Awesome, Crystal. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. Have a good one.
And that's a wrap. If you've made it this far, that means you've listened to the entire episode, so thank you. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please leave a review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you're listening from. And if you've learned something or found it useful, share it with one of your homies. And if you want to get in touch with me, I'm pretty active on IG. My handle is pro_TANH. Reach out, let me know what you liked, what you didn't like, or what you want to hear about in the future. I'm here to tailor this to you. Until next time.